Gary, with the start of the NBA Finals today in Boston, this is a perfect time to remind our viewing and listening audience that people from Boston hate when you call it Beantown. And to that
Ugh.
effect, let's go
Oh,
Beantown!
come on.
You can just call me
The
the
overt slight is unnecessary, especially coming from a person who is from Atlanta and who knows the disdain that accompanies calling that city Hotlanta. Elle, you know
oh,
what you're doing. You know what you're doing.
yeah,
You know what you're
correct.
doing. You know what you're doing when you did it, and you still done did it anyway.
Correct. You can call me the Kyrie Irving of sports media when it comes to Boston. I'm here for all your jabs. I don't care. I love pissing you off, Beantown. Welcome to the Elle Duncan Show. I am the aforementioned Elle Duncan. He's Gary Streisky, coming to us from potentially a hotel room, potentially a conference room in Boston ahead of the
Right.
NBA Finals.
It's actually
It's
both. It's a hotel room, but it can double as a conference room. Just depends on how much work you need to get done. L. Right now, it's a small conference room because you and I we're having a one-on-one conference
yeah.
right now. Yeah, I'm here at the Battery Wharf, about a 5-minute walk to TD Garden. I was there yesterday for media day. I'll be there later this evening. I had a game one, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time tip off. Got hoop streams from 8 to 8:30. Should be a good time.
There you go. Get all those plugs in. We love that for you. You think I'm a
Come on.
troll of Boston? You think I'm a troll of Boston? We have gone an entire week of not having any real NBA news or anything real tangible to talk about because of the conference, essentially conference sweeps. I mean, gentlemen's sweep, if you will.
Yeah.
And because of that, we have just been manufacturing stories, trying to figure out how to talk about this because we don't have any game action all week long. And on the day, that the Boston Celtics begin their pursuit for banner what, 18?
It's 18.
On that very same day, their bitterest of rivals drop a big old giant Woj bomb all over their beautiful day. The Lakers, in what was the most surprising news to wake up to at 7 o'clock this morning, other insiders, I don't know why you guys still trust them at this point, have been saying it is JJ Redick. They have circled him, they are circling the wagons, and we are ready for him. And just like that, this morning, Adrian Wojnarowski drops a bomb that the Lakers are about to court Dan Hurley away from UConn with a very enticing package. And here's the thing. I love that. I love that the Lakers have yet again spoiled the Celtics' big day, at least in the build up to it, with this giant news. I love that Woj got this amazing scoop. He just let us think that something was trending one way this whole time. And then here he comes, laying in wait. Yeah, I got you. It ain't JJ, it's Dan. And of course, being that we're in Connecticut, it is setting off a firestorm here. And we will get to all of that, Gare Bear. We will address
Mhm.
it. But we're going to show the Celtics and the Mavericks their due. We're going to give them their due, give them their justice, and we're going to table set NBA Finals game one tonight, the rivalry. You know, the thing about this is that, like, these teams don't have any real rivalry, right?
But
But
there's
there's a
some
whole
vitriol.
that's what I'm saying. There's a bunch of animus when it comes to
Yes.
this particular matchup and tons of storylines. So we figured we'd start the show by doing a rate the rivalry. All right. We'll run through some of the NBA Finals rivalries and we'll rate our
That's so
interest in them.
hard to say. Rate the rival. That's like Red River rivalry, and we had to
Rivalry.
stop
Yeah.
saying it for the longest time. And now that the Big 12 and those teams are gone, we don't have to say it anymore.
It's a
But
Red
Red
River
River,
showdown, I think now. Yeah.
which is weird, it got to be so cumbersome that they adjusted the whole the whole naming of the rivalry. But I still challenge myself to say Red River rivalry, but I have to do it
I do
real
too.
slow. Me
I do
has to
too.
think real slow.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like we have as a broadcaster, there are words or names that when you say them right, like you fist
Yes.
bump the air. You're like, I nailed that.
Yes.
I got it. And Red River Rivalry is one of them.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Stop bragging. You're showing off now. You're showing off.
that's
That was like kind of seamless, and I'm pretty
yeah,
impressed.
yeah. I do not get into
Usually
a
I have
brain
to
pretzel when
stop
it
down
comes to
before
that
I
one.
say it and then stop down after I say it, but you sort of just said that in a whole sentence, and That's what separates us.
That's how I like to do, man. It's just all those mouth exercises that I do. I mean, you're an improv person. You should know red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. And
Oh,
I just get
oh,
ready. It's the warm
I've not
ups.
graduated to those warm-ups yet. I'm
All
only
right.
in
So
Badada
we're,
right now.
yeah. So we're going to rate this rivalry, Gare Bear, and we're
Okay.
going to scale of 1 to 5. One being the least interested, 5 being the most interested. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Kyrie Irving versus Boston.
Yeah. 4. I understand. I understand that this is the entire buildup, and
Mhm.
this is what we are all looking forward to. But I think in order to have an actual full-blown rivalry, you have to have buy-in from both sides. And obviously, we're not going to get any lack of buy-in from the 18,000 people who cram into TD Garden and the vendors who are outside 5 hours before the game selling Kyrie effing sucks shirts. There's not any question to the buy-in on Boston's side, but we have seen this year specifically, and you know, since he turned 30, maybe a touch of a maturation lead up to this. But Kyrie even said it yesterday in his media day availability. He was like, that was the old me. I've had 5, 6 years to mature. I know I'm gonna get it from these Boston fans. Like he's not giving them really any ammo or any fuel to add to this eruption that we're probably gonna see the first time he touches the ball and he gets his name announced. But I say it's a 4 because Kyrie isn't coming into this thing with his guard up. You know what I'm saying? Guns blazing, talking about Boston like he once would have his first 2 seasons in Brooklyn.
Yeah, well, I love that you can tell us what Kyrie said. I'd rather just hear it from Kyrie. Here is what he said about returning to Boston. And to Gary's point, something that I thought really showed how much he's matured over the last few years. Listen to what he said.
Being aware of what it's going to be like. We call it animosity, we call it hate, we call it, it's going to be hell in Boston. Last time in Boston, I don't think that was the best, not this regular season, but when we played in the playoffs and everyone saw me flip off the birds and kind of lose my shit a little bit. That wasn't a great reflection of who I am and how I like to compete on a high level. I'm built for these moments to be able to handle circumstances like that. And I've been able to grow since then. So, of course, it's going to be a hectic environment, but I'm looking forward to it. And I see it as a healthy relationship to have with the fans.
I love that. He also joined our Malika Andrews and said the same thing. Like, I'm not here without Boston. I'm so grateful when I reflect on my time there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the player that I am, not spent that time in Boston. But for those folks at home, very quickly, who are sort of, because it takes all kinds here on the Elle Duncan Show, and we welcome some of our more casual stands or the fans that maybe don't know some of the history. So I'm going to try and just very quickly summate Kyrie versus Boston. He has likened in the past this Boston crowd to a scorned girlfriend. He accused the fans of subtle racism. He burnt sage at the Garden so that he could cleanse the energy out of it. And then, of course, he stomped on the Celtics mid-court logo before famously flipping off the entire crowd during last year's playoffs. Now, it all started really well for Kyrie in Boston. His father once actually played at Boston University. He comes over in 2017 from a trade with the Cavaliers, and the initial returns were really promising, right? Like, it was a team that overachieved despite the fact that Gordon Hayward what goes down right away. They ultimately
Oh,
end up losing to LeBron and the Cavs in the postseason, but they are doing particularly well. Things start unraveling in Boston around 2018-19. The Celtics fall to fourth in the East. They lose to the Bucks in the second round. And worst of all, Irving was horrific in that game. I mean,
mhm.
he was 6 of 21 from the field, 15 points. It was bad. All right. And so all of a sudden, everything starts to unravel. They're asking about his future in Boston. He's claiming he wants to be a part of Boston forever. He wants to add his name to the great, legacy players that have played there. And then, of course, we all know what happens. He ends up ultimately teaming up with Kevin Durant and James Harden in Brooklyn, and he's out, and then they hate each other and things don't go particularly well after that. But I do think that I'm intrigued in this matchup, not just because of the Kyrie aspect of it, but because people forget about another little rivalry here. When you sort of think about the reception that Kyrie has received in Boston, it actually reminds a lot of people of what happened to Jason Kidd in 2002 when he was playing for the Nets, the New Jersey Nets, and they were in Boston. And he was so maligned by Boston. Like, he talked about it a lot, that like they honed in on his family, they crossed the line. And he was very, very upset about his treatment there. I mean, they booed him every time he touched the ball. Like, they went after Jason Kidd. And do you remember who Kyrie Irving's coach is right now on the Dallas Mavericks?
Oh yeah, sure. No, of course. Jason Kidd. These guys are going to be 1-2 punch, man. They're they're
Come
they're
on, bruh.
they're
Like, they
out
are
for blood.
so
So
ready.
are
They
you
want
calling it a
smoke.
5?
I'm going to call it a 5, bruh. I'm super into it.
Okay.
I'm into it.
I
They
rock
are
with
going
that.
to boo the dog out of Kyrie. And I'm really interested to see, if he says it's as healthy as he claimed to at media availability yesterday when it's happening. Here's one that I didn't even know was a thing. All right.
Oh,
Rivalry between Luka and Kristaps Porzingis. So
okay. Yeah,
earlier
I
this
had some
week, let me
questions
set it
about this
up. Yeah.
one.
So earlier this week, Chandler Parsons, okay, says that Luka and Porzingis had actual beef. Chandler Parsons used to play for the Mavericks. And Luka was actually asked about this on Tuesday, and this is what he said about those comments that him and Kristaps just really don't F with each other.
You see, that's why I haven't watched a lot of that, because people don't know. I talked to Chandler Parsons maybe twice in my life, so I don't know how he would know that. But me and KB have a good relationship. I don't know what people to say otherwise.
So there it is. Kristaps. So here's what I'm giving this a 1.
Yes.
A, this is not at all like an interesting one to me. And B, I don't think that Kristaps played in Dallas long enough or has a long enough background or history with Dallas to have any real beef with Luka Doncic. When he was there for the 2 seasons and change, they lost in the first round of the playoffs, each of his 2 full seasons in Dallas. And he averaged around 20 and 20 points per year, those 2 seasons respectively. But he played, because of injuries, like 100 games with Dallas. And I just don't see how that has lent itself to some rivalry that we must watch.
2 things on this. I'm pretty sure there's like plenty of video from the bubble, and it's Luka and Kristaps, basically all the Eastern European guys, just like sitting at the Grand Floridian smashing beers. And you certainly don't do that with people that you don't like. I am going to give Chandler Parsons the benefit of the doubt because I was watching that program, and it sounds like he was trying to maybe skew it more towards Kristaps Porzingis and Dallas fans have the beef with one another. But also, as an aside, is it one of the most backhanded or like low key disses when somebody says, like Luka said about Chandler? Man, I've talked to that guy like 2 times in my life. That's
It
always
really is.
that always just crushes me. If anybody was to ever like, be having a conversation about me and they're like, man, I don't know, Gary, I've talked to that guy like once. They're not intentionally being mean or like malicious, but I'm like, damn, dude, you don't have to point it out like that. I get it. You're not friends. Like we get it. Chandler Parsons is not friends with Luka, but him sort of saying that on the sly is kind of like, ooh, that one probably hurt Chandler a little bit. That one probably hurt. All that to say, I think this is about as low as you can get. I think the real beef is going to be Kristaps in American Airlines Arena with these Dallas fans. Not quite to the level, obviously, of Kyrie and Boston fans, but because KP was coming off that 3 magical season run, in New York, and then to obviously fall so significantly under that expectation bar in Dallas, they're probably not too happy with that. But as far as like Luka and KP having beef, nah, man, there's only like 5 or 6 Eastern European dudes in the league. They got to stick together.
Yeah, they've got a bond. They've got to homie
Facts.
it out. All right, lastly, I'm just going to kind of smash a couple of them together because we ran out of
Okay.
time, but essentially the Boston Celtics versus their biggest rival of late, winning an actual Larry O'Brien. And
Yeah.
this is an interesting one to watch because this is a team that's been the most winningest team in the NBA over the last 8 seasons, and they have 0 titles to show for this. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, like we are talking about a team that has 2 max lottery players, like And people are saying that if they cannot win this championship, this team is built to win a championship. They are heavily favored to win a championship, with all due respect to the Mavericks. If they can't get it done this year, that you should blow this entire team up. And I just find that to be absolutely intriguing after you've given both of these dudes so much money and secured a really good team around them with Drew Holiday and Kristaps. The idea that this is win or bust, that this could be the last time we see this iteration of the Celtics if they can't win a championship. 5, 10, 20. It's a 20 on my scale. Like, the pressure of that.
Wait,
I'm really
what?
intrigued.
No, you're not saying this is a 20.
Yeah.
You're saying this is a 20 in terms of pressure. They're going to blow it up if they don't win. Elle, you are tripping. No way.
I'm saying the intention, like I'm rating the rivalry as a 20 because I'm really interested to see, like, we have had excuses for the Celtics the last few times that they've been able to sort of be the bridesmaid and not the bride. And now they're at what looks to be their best opportunity to win a championship. And if they don't do it this year, they could blow this team up completely. And I just find that to be intriguing, that the most winningest team over the last 8 years, that the most winningest team this year could potentially be completely obliterated if they cannot win a championship. So with that, Gary, who do you have winning this, as you're going to be our Hoop Streams guy? I know you're going to end up having to make predictions. If you want to just bail out and make a prediction for tonight, only you can, or you can give me your series prediction too.
Elle, this thing is going the distance. It's going 7. Okay. And I do think the Celtics have the best team. They have the best depth, but Dallas, and it's so funny to say this, right? Boston has the best team, the most talent, the most depth, but Dallas has the best player and the best tandem in the series, which is crazy, right? Like, you would think that those 2 or 3 things are one and the same. Anyway, Celtics in 7. And you know who probably low key, and I hate that I've said that twice now on this episode, and my millennial self is like, ew, Gary, stop, find a new word. But the 2008 Celtics are probably like the 72 Dolphins. Like, damn, I want to see him do well, but also at the same time, like, if the Celtics win, damn, we got to stop riding this 2008 NBA Finals trophy every single chance we get, because there are members of that 2008 Boston Celtics Finals team who will let you know that they are members of that 2008 Boston Celtics final team. But I think 16 years after the fact, we're getting banner 18. And by we, I mean Boston. I'm not, that much of a fan of the Celtics.
Yes, you are.
Boston's getting 18.
Nerd.
Boston's getting 18.
To your point, Kendrick Perkins yesterday joins my SportsCenter show, and before he pops up on screen, I'm like,
I said no names. I said
Kendrick Perkins joins us from the floor of I was like, oh no, he's actually up in the stands. And he's like, Elle, I wanted to be closer to my banner from 2008. So I told him to put me up here in the stands so I could be closer to the banner. I was like, K-Perk, I can't with you. This dude. Listen, you win a national championship.
I am telling you.
My dogs won a national championship, and I'm going to ride that till the wheels fall. If you win a world championship, you better be able to beat your chest whenever you want. Say what you want. Say, talk your trash. Coming up on the other side, we're going to take a quick break. I've got some Duncan Do Nots. That's right, guys. It's a segment that I've been trying to make an endorsed segment for a really long time. Duncan Donuts, where you at? We will give you some Duncan's Do Nots when it comes to the WNBA. Oh, God. That's next. Hey, the Elle Duncan Show has new episodes every Monday and Thursday, wherever you get your podcast, also on YouTube, Spotify, and you, of course, can watch us on ESPN2 every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Tell somebody about us. Unless, of course, that person has an egg as an avatar, and then that person can off.
No, I don't discriminate, Elle. An eyeball is an eyeball. 2 of them are even better.
Yeah, you say that because your mentions don't look like, you stop being racist when it comes to the WNBA. You don't know nothing. You are a racist. That's exactly how I imagine in my head they sound.
I know the accent. I'm going to read you my very last. Okay, let me read you my very last mention. This was 6 hours ago. It had something to do from Angry Pete. Maybe Gary Streisky should see if he could bring it back and become a real anchor, on a show that shows highlights instead of being the NBA and the Yankees.
tweeting the NBA and the Yank me's? That's actually
That
kind of
is
clever.
that's from Angry Pete. It's in his name. O's Han. He's been tweeting at
Oh,
me. He's been tweeting at me a lot recently. I don't know. And hey, listen,
yeah. Angry Pete came after me last week too, a few times.
did
Yeah.
he?
Oh,
Look
for
at
sure.
us.
Yeah. Yeah. Angry
Oh, look
Pete's
at
on a
us.
tear, man. Yeah. Look at
And
us,
I
guys.
don't care. Praise and blame is all the same to me. One of my mentors back in the day told me, "Listen, man, people are gonna love watching you. People are gonna hate watching you. Those are both good things. You don't want people to be indifferent." And I've taken that to the bank.
Sure. I mean, honestly, I suppose there's some aspect of, you know, wanting like no publicity is bad publicity.
There you go.
But oh my God, I liken what's happening in the WNBA right now. People are like, well, hey, there's a lot of eyes, there's a lot of more attention, it's as if it's expanded. I'm like, yeah, okay. But when you open your house up to a party, you want people to show up with like picnic items, not pitchforks. Like there is a difference. I would rather the other crowd, not the pitchfork crowd, but that's fine. And that's why in an attempt to wrangle the conversation back, I've got a series of Duncan's Do Nots, which would be great to be sponsored
Oh,
by Duncan Donuts if
oh,
they
the
if they
music is
wanted
telling us.
to, that they won't. These are just some things you should not do when it comes to the WNBA. First of all, do not miss what Asia Wilson is doing in Las Vegas. While you were tweeting, this woman is steadily putting up Shaq numbers from '01. Shaq numbers from '01. And for my OGs that are listening that know basketball, you remember what he did back then, okay? He averaged almost 29 points, over 12 rebounds, and almost 3 blocks a game. Listen to Asia Wilson's stat line. Almost 28 points, over 12 rebounds, and almost 3 blocks per game. Last night alone, 36 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 steals. She made WNBA history, and her aces look a little bit more human than maybe they did in previous years, of course, coming off 2 straight championships. But Asia Wilson is having one of the most revelatory years for a woman that's already won MVP. She has somehow found a way to level up even more. It has been incredible to watch. You need to watch Asia Wilson.
I also like how you mentioned it, how the aces seem mortal. And
Yeah.
I liken it to, when a team is so good, or in the F1 comparison, when Max Verstappen was so good, you take away so much of the excitement and the anticipation of a game or a race. But the fact that the Aces have lost 2 of their first 7 games of the season, you're like, oh, wow, okay, cool. This is worth tuning into, because while, yes, they have an
Parody.
Avengers type roster, they got a shot at losing. Because look, they've already lost twice this season. And I like that about the totality of a season where you want to see parity and competition from wire to wire.
Well, Chelsea Gray is still not back for them, so that's definitely like a huge determining factor. Jackie Young has really filled in amicably or admirably and done a really awesome job. She's having a breakout season herself. But just while you still think blood is in the water, Chelsea Gray, who's one of the best scorers and point guards, she's coming back. All right, here's another one. Do not stay being thirsty over Cameron Brink. Okay. I have a couple of people who are new WNBA fans, new to this space in general, that are like, yo, what's up with that Disney princess that's out in LA? I'm like, Cameron Brink. That must be who you're talking about. Cameron Brink, rookie, number 2 overall pick with the Sparks. And yes, Cameron Brink, also known as Steph Curry's god sister, could be a model. She is tall, she is beautiful, and she dresses very feminine, something that she talked about in an interview with Uproxx, an interview that I thought, by the way, is also really good. If I'm saying do not miss out on Asia Wilson, also do not miss out on this interview. But she does acknowledge that there's a privilege for the younger white players of the league. She says, quote, "That's not always true, but there is a privilege that we have inherently, and the privilege of appearing feminine. I know I can feed into that because I like to dress femininely, but that's just me. I want everyone to be accepted, not just paid attention to because of how they look." And I thought it was a really good interview, mostly because she does talk about how she wants to impact the WNBA. She said that she would like for the game to be even bigger when she leaves it than it is right now. And when she was asked by Megan, the interviewer, Well, how do you do that? She said essentially that quote, by making sure that all kinds are accepted. And I think that's the missing part of this conversation when you're listening to a lot of men or a lot of newcomers talk about this sort of WNBA versus Caitlin Clark thing, is the idea that it is a league that is predominantly Black, where you have, it's a queer league. It's a league where not all of the players, all of the best players, and some of the best players are more masculine. And she wants it to be acceptable and marketable and wants all of them to be appreciated. She talked about, some of her teammates go by they, them pronouns. She's talking about Lasia Clarendon. And just the idea that you don't have to be beautiful and feminine and white to be deemed marketable or interesting or to be one of the faces of the league. And I think that she really earned a lot of fans by just acknowledging the thing that a lot of Black women in the league have been saying for a long time. So well done, Cameron Brink. Here's one, because you mentioned Gare Bear. The Aces look a little bit human, look a little bit mortal. Do not miss this game on Saturday. It is the undefeated 9-0 Connecticut Sun hosting the 8-2 Liberty, a team that fell just short of winning the championship, falling to the Aces just last year. Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, they are balling right now. This is a matchup on ABC. Myself, Andrea Carter, and Chinea Gumake will be holding down WNBA Countdown, 12:30 Eastern on ABC. Hope to see you there. But this is going to be a good one because, of course, you've got Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner, the fiancés who are absolutely balling. And then you've got, as I already mentioned, what?
Did you say fiancés?
Fiancés.
Oh, fiancés. Oh, okay.
What did you think I said?
I thought you said fiancé,
like fake Beyonce?
No, like fiancés and Beyoncés mashed together.
Oh,
well, wait, hold on. Same, kind of. Fiancé.
Yeah, basketball.
Okay. No, it's still
they're
works.
Beyoncés. They're basketball fiancés. So they're
They are
Beyoncés.
Beyoncés.
Okay? They're Beyoncés. I love that.
Boom, we worked
now some people
okay,
say
cool.
Some people say, oh, the Sun are only undefeated as they look to become just the fourth team in WNBA history to start out the season 10-0. Some people are like, oh, they've played literally the easiest schedule. They've played the Mystics twice. They played the Fever twice. Like, that's why they're so good. This is a chance to really test their mettle. You talk about always being the bridesmaid. That is the Connecticut Sun. They have been the bridesmaid right there in the conversation, but unable to secure a championship. So they're right there. It's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Not for nothing. You do play who's on the schedule, but the Mystics are still the only team in the WNBA looking for their first win. And the Fever are 2-9. And that's 4 of their 9 wins. All right. But again, you play who's on the schedule.
You play who's on your schedule, right? You mentioned the Mystics. They're facing Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever on Friday.
Something got to give. Something's got to give.
Something's got to give. Someone's going to win, right? Can't end in tie. Someone has to win. I'm actually really intrigued about this game with Caitlin Clark and the Fever and Aaliyah Boston because they played 11 games in 20 days and they haven't played since Sunday. They got mollywopped by the Liberty on Sunday. Caitlin Clark had 3 points. You could just tell their legs were dead. I mean, they all just look exhausted and they should be. Like that is a gauntlet run for them. And so they have had all of this time off. 6 days, it will be 5 days until they play again. So this is the longest time off that they've had. So I would say, as a little bit of a do not for the Fever, do not check your mentions. Do not engage on social media in any way. I hope you've enjoyed your time off, Indiana Fever. It's been quite a run for you guys. I hope you can enjoy a little bit of downtime, a little bit of cold tub time, and get back to work on Friday. But I am interested to see the benefit of practice, the benefit of some rest, the benefit of sleeping in their own beds, how the Fever look on Friday compared to how they looked on Sunday.
Angry Pete probably lurking in some of those mentions anyway, so they're not missing much. So their last, because it's 40-something game season, they've played 10, 11 games. So their last 30 games are spread over the course of 9 months. Or excuse me, 90 days. That'd be a lot of break. So about 30 games.
Longer even, right? Because of the Olympic break. So like they'll be playing games in September. Yeah.
That's
so I think I saw
okay.
I've got to get the exact number, but I saw some stat that was like first 11 games played in 20 days, next 30 games 29 games, because they play 40 games. Next 29 games played over like 130 days. It's insane.
Wow. Yeah, they're going to be rested for those.
They are going to be very rested. And our final Duncan's Do Nots. Do not, in the great words of Crisscross, miss the bus. I love so much that when we talk about Iowa basketball, and rightfully so, it was all about Caitlin Clark and her teammate, Kate Martin. It was like she's her best friend. She's just there at the draft to watch and support Caitlin. She ends up getting drafted to the Aces, and now she's become maybe the most lovable figure in basketball. This is her team pranking her and leaving her at a steakhouse. She thinks that they are leaving her, that they forgot her. The truth is they were just messing with Kate. It was her birthday the other day. They gave her like a My Little Pony or something backpack and a cake. Like, them messing with Kate Martin and loving on Kate Martin has been one of just the most fun social aspects in what has been a nasty vitriolic social space for the W. All the Kate Martin love and shenanigans has been really, really fun.
Yeah, but the Home Alone flashbacks right there, Kate Martin getting dipped on, that's enough to make somebody be 10 minutes early for the rest of their lives. My dad one time made me sleep in the car because he told me that I needed to be home by a certain time. This was in high school, so I still had a curfew. I was like the only one of my friends who had one, and he told me to be home. And this was summertime, by the way. Family reunion was all there visiting, and I was 10 minutes late. My family was still up and awake and having a good time. They wouldn't let me in, though, because I wasn't on time, so I had to sleep outside in the car that night. Yeah, my dad did not joke around. So guess who was never late ever again?
You slept in your car like a vagrant? Oh, wow.
Yo, Elle, I slept in the back of my freaking Mustang that night because I was 10 minutes late. It was my curfew was like 11 and I got home at like 11:15-ish. And literally my sister was like, Dad says I can't let you in. I'm like, what are you talking about? The lights are still on. Everybody's still awake. Let me in. And then my dad came to the door. He's like, you can sleep in the car. And I'm like, damn.
That's how you know you live in a good neighborhood, bruh. Like, there's zero chance. Like, you know what I mean? That's how you know. His dad's like, you're fine. Sleep on the porch. No one will mess with you. Maybe just the Bearcats or whatever is out there in Thornton, Colorado.
State trooper, he did bring the car home at night, so he backed it into the driveway, and I, of course, am parking on the street. So yeah, nobody was messing with me back then, but I was like, damn, for real? I can hear everybody having a good time, and here I was just in the back of my 99 Stang, which I've been in the back of that thing before, you know what I'm saying?
No, you hadn't.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, I've been to a drive-in movie in it. I did go to a drive-in movie in it one time.
Shut up, there's zero chance that Mustang got any action.
You are tripping. Girl, you're talking to
shot. Although, again, you had a Mustang in college. You were that guy. Oh man, well, I always judged the guy in college. I judged the guy in high school that had the Mustangs. I also went to a school where all the kids had, you know, Mustangs and Shelbys and, you know, like Cobras. Like this one kid had like $120,000 car when we were in high school. I was like, what is wrong with your parents? They're driving Navigators. I'm out here in my Dodge Avenger. Oh, brand new Navigators. Bart. Shout out to Bart Small, dude. He had a brand new Navigator when we were like 16 years old. Meanwhile, I have a Dodge Avenger that cost $2,000. And let me tell you, I spent all of my money working at Whitewater, which is an amusement park, and other places for a system. So at some point when I traded the car in, my system was worth more than the car was. Okay. Because that is fiscal responsibility. Of course I did. I had three.
Elle, what color was your Dodge Avenger?
It was like a teal.
Was it red?
No, it was teal.
Okay. I don't think I've ever told you this. Why would I? But a Dodge Avenger was my dream car in high school. Dude, I wanted a Dodge. I thought Dodge Avengers looked so freaking bad.
Cool, right?
Dude, Dodge Avengers were a sharp car. I would have traded you if I knew you in high school and you were like, Gary, do you want to switch? Do you want to trade cars? And I saw you pull up in a Dodge Avenger. I'd be like, this is an absolute no-brainer for me. Here's the keys to the Stang. It's a V6. Let me get the Dodge Avenger. I was sad that I never got the opportunity to own one. How long did you have it for? Did you have it for your entire high school?
No, yeah. So I had it it was my first car, and I had it my senior year. My graduation gift was a Nissan Pathfinder. So I'm sorry. No. Sorry. Nope. That was next. My car after that, after I wanted to upgrade to an SUV, so I was just felt a little bigger and rode a little higher. I got a Honda Passport.
Oh, Shorty got the third row before the third row was cool.
Sure did.
A
I had it,
Honda
and that's where I
Passport.
put my system. That's where the system lived.
Oh, you had the 212s in the movable box. It would just be slided.
315s, homie. 315s. And here's the problem. What I wasn't going to do was spend the extra money to reinforce the trunk, right? Like when you put a system in an SUV, you have to build a box for it, right? So that it doesn't.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to spend any money doing any of that. So my car would just rattle. Like it was like, yeah, you get some bass, but it just rattled. It was horrible. And that's yeah.
You had 315s in the back of a Honda Passport.
I had like a 1700 watt Alpine amp. Like you could hear me.
Oh, the Alpine.
Yes, I'm telling you, I saved for like 2 years and then bought like the system of my dream. And that should tell you plenty about me, guys, that all I ever wanted my whole life was a system.
I am so jealous. That's amazing because you had 315s in the back of a Honda Passport in early 2000s Atlanta. So you were bumping fresh Ludacris. You were bumping fresh Yin Yang Twins, fresh Outkast. You were bumping early 2000s Atlanta was the hub.
Yeah. There is a song by 3-6 Mafia, and it is called, I can't even say this because we're on TV. It's called what's the fun term for a booty? Okay, starts with an A. Mm-hmm. Don't show. And T word for. Yes. Me and Big Booty. I would pull up to school bumping, and like the teachers would just be like, "Ma'am,
it's 6 in the morning.
It's 6 a.m. The 3-6 floppy is aggressive." So yeah, that was me. That was my life. All right. As promised, on the other side of the break, we're going to get to the Lakers coaching search. The okey doke was pulled. The big psych out was pulled. The rumor mill is heating up. Who's heading to La La Land? And will LeBron
that's the Dodge Avengers skating off.
And we back on the Elle Duncan Show. Elle Duncan, Gary Streisky. There's been all of these rumors when it comes to the Lakers head coaching search after they let Darvin Ham go, that it would be JJ Redick. In fact, that's like one of the main names that we heard. I heard Sam Cassell sort of thrown in there. James Borrego was sort of thrown in there a little bit. Some of those intimations and hits. But it's really, for weeks now, been JJ Redick. They love his mind. They love his podcast, because that's apparently the only qualification you need to be head coach now is a great podcast with the face of the league. Hey. He, of course, has a podcast with LeBron. And then yesterday, we run this sound on SportsCenter when JJ Redick joined Golick Jr. and Golick's podcast. And I was like, he's not confirming, but sort of confirming that he is going to be the Lakers head coach. Listen to this.
My day-to-day right now is consumed with calling games, the 19 different podcasts I feel like I have, my obligations to all of our partners. So my focus is on the NBA Finals. I will say that. In terms of Shams, that will be addressed once the season is over. So I'll just say that.
Right? Didn't that feel a little bit like a wink and a nod? Like, I'll tell you this.
I don't get it, man. I'm not good on picking up context clues or like searching through ambiguity. So you tell me what I'm supposed to take from that, Elle.
I think most people felt like it was like sort of like a wink and a nod, like, I will address this when this, that he was being a little bit cagey, and that when people are cagey about things like this, it's because it is happening, but they're not at a place where they can confirm. So everyone's thinking this is trending towards JJ Redick. I mean, there was already think pieces on who's going to replace him in the booth. And then this morning we get hit with an Adrian Wojnarowski Woj bomb. And then he had this to say.
The Los Angeles Lakers are preparing a massive long-term offer for Connecticut Huskies coach Dan Hurley. He's been the target of the Lakers search since the beginning. The sides have had preliminary contact, I'm told, and those conversations are expected to escalate. For Dan Hurley, the NBA has been an ambition of his, and now they're going to get a chance, to extensively lay out to him the vision they see for bringing Dan Hurley's program to the NBA.
There it is. And my favorite part of that was Woj just saying like that little, sometimes you said you're not good with ambiguity, that little nugget of since the beginning, meaning all those other reports are bull.
Who was he directing that towards?
One can only wonder.
Woj continues to be, he is the judge, jury, and executioner on all things information. He dropped that at 4 a.m. and then I woke up to watch SportsCenter, D. Lloyd and Randy Scott at 7 a.m. And I'm like, damn, this is how the day is going to get started. And now Hartford's going to have to change their slogan, Elle, because Hartford once had it, or Hartford has it, and now they're going to have to change it to Hartford had it, if it relates to Hurley bouncing from, of course, UConn to LA. That is a spicy, spicy connection, and I like it.
Yeah, I think too, it's interesting because Gino Auriemma said on a podcast, if it's true, of course, that he was actually with Dan Hurley just yesterday and was like, I told Dan I thought he'd do a great job and could win a lot of rings if he was the Lakers coach, more so than a guy who's never coached before, which would be pretty hilarious. But yeah, I kind of feel for the UConn fans. I mean, my niece just graduated high school and she's coming to UConn from Portland, Oregon. And of course, she chose UConn for their pharmacy school, not because of the basketball team, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that she was very intrigued at the idea she could be witnessing potential history 3 in a row. Alex Caravan comes back, right, to join the squad. So yeah, I mean, if he does in fact leave, it sucks because he is a big part of the community as well. His wife is on the board at the Children's Hospital. So they've been great people, and they've been, foundational to this recent UConn run. But good for Dan Hurley if he's always wanted to be in the league, because it looks like that's where he's heading, to LA, where he will collaborate, not coach, with LeBron James, should LeBron choose to stay there. A lot of questions surrounding the Lakers. Sure. We'll have plenty of time in the offseason to get to all that. But on the other side, we've got some warning for our producer who's about to get married this weekend round.
Sounds ominous.
Dun, 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 dun. Welcome back to the Elle Duncan Show. Duncan's I Do.
Cover it all on this program.
You know it, Christina Buswell. I don't even know what her new married name will be, should she choose to change it. But Christina, we love you. She's getting married this weekend, so she is not in the booth right now, manning this absolute circus that we call the Elle Duncan Show. But I have a few things, considering I'm the only one of the two of us, Gary, that's been married. Get on that. I got your back, Abby.
Mm-hmm. You speak of it in the past tense, but you still are.
Here are some of my I do's when it comes to your wedding. I did a Duncan's Do Nots. These are Duncan's I do's. Do have your DJ or band do a little mini set just before dinner. After you do your first dance, don't just sit down and get right into the speeches. People get bored. They've been sitting around at your cocktail hour, but then sitting around at your ceremony. They've been sitting and sitting and sitting. Get them off their 4 or 5 songs, get the party started. Then you sit down and have dinner. Trust me, it makes all the difference. Do not interrupt the fun to have people watch you cut your cake. If there are people on the dance floor and they're getting it in and they're chuckling and having a great time and loving life, do not interrupt that so they can watch you do something they don't care to do. No one cares except for you two and your photographer that you're cutting your cake. Yes.
But that's like a tradition. And the weddings that I've been to, I like watching that. And I like the cute little, here's a dollop of whipped cream on your nose. Look at us be so cute.
Then you can go watch that happen. You're not excluded from it. You can go watch it happen somewhere else where they're doing it. That is really much more of a photograph moment. That is not a moment that I have been to weddings where people were on the dance floor, kicking it, partying, having the best time. And they're like, now we're going to stop down for a second and we're going to get ready for the cutting of the cake. And everyone was like, no one cares. Do Keep that best man and maid of honor speech tight. No one wants you to start from the first time you met her when you guys were in the second grade. Do take care of your guests. I'm sorry, no cash bars. Oh my God, that's horrific. They should not be pulling out a wallet. Don't do it. Those are the rules. Do hire a sitter. No one wants a freaking baby at their wedding. I had to put that on the invite. Sorry, love you. Don't bring your children. Don't want it. Don't want to hear a
I
crying
like that.
baby in the middle of the ceremony. Not okay. Do eat your dinners because those things aren't cheap, and do respect the wedding invite. I had 2 wedding crashers come to my wedding in Costa Rica. That's right, friends. Not only did they have the audacity to show up to a wedding they weren't invited to, they showed up to a wedding in another country that they weren't invited to. The one thing that they did that was appropriate was acknowledge that they were crashing my wedding and throw me a few $100s to take care of their food. So there it is.
We only have
Yeah.
a minute to get into who the hell crashed your wedding. Is it uninvited +1 or uninvited guest completely?
Completely uninvited guest.
Oh,
Okay,
we're
story
being
for another
told that's a
time.
story
I
for another
know.
time. Damn it.
I know.
That's such a good story.
Gary, since you don't live in Boston anymore, very quickly, the one thing that you always do when you go back and visit.
Oh, I go have dinner in the North End, which I
Okay.
did last night, and I'm about to have my leftovers from Tresca, Ray Bork's restaurant. This is half of a chicken parm that I wasn't able to finish yesterday, but it was deliberate because future Gary knows that I'm going to thank past Gary for saving this sweet little treat for me right after we get done with the pod.
Ew, do you not have a refrigerator in your room? Ew.
No, it's just
Very
been a raw.
gross. Oh my God, you're going to get
chicken
bubble
parm
guts
just-
before the game.
Just some chicken farm.
Oh God. Bye.